Recently, I finished Stranger Things Season 5, and I wanted to do a quick review on that particular season and the finale altogether. Mostly online, you'll see one or two extremes. People either loved it so much they thought it was the most amazing, epic finale, they were just brought to tears, or you see the total opposite. They're angry and they're just venting online day after day. They've been gypped. And honestly, I feel somewhere like in the middle. I don't think it was the worst thing ever, but I also don't think it was the best. Um, there are a lot of unanswered questions I have about the Stranger Things universe, which I think was intentional. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, they just left so many plot holes. Yeah, but I think they did it on purpose to leave it kind of open ended. Like, oh, well, if somebody wants to go back and expand the story, they can. So that's my thoughts on that. Nothing in 2026 is ever really over with the amount of remakes, prequels, sequels. What you would think was a standalone something, like it's not. It's very rare. So, and this has been going on for 15, 20 years, and I have a feeling it's not ending anytime soon. So, we already know there's going to be a prequel coming out having to do with the box with that rock from outer space, and I guess the powers, how they originated. And we know there's a confirmed cartoon of sorts in the works. Of course, they recently dropped the documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but they want to keep it going. Whether or not they'll ever have a sequel, I don't know. I know the Duffer brothers mentioned in a recent interview that basically, if they were to ever do it, which they figured they wouldn't, but if they ever were to do another sequel to the series, that they would, have it kind of like how The Goonies is about to have a sequel after all these years, like decades. They would wait until the main kids now are older, and then it'd be about their kids. But yeah, my biggest complaint, which is for most people, about this season is just so much, let's talk about our feelings. It's the end of the world, literally. And you're heading towards the final battle. And it's like, we just need to take a moment, each turn at the mic, and talk about our feelings. And I don't even mean the very long, awkward coming out scene. I mean, literally everyone had to talk about their feelings and work through their relational problems, whether it be friendships, a romantic partner. And it started to get a little laughable. I feel like Dr. K was kind of a random villain to just slip in there in the show, because it was almost like too much. Like, okay, you've already got Vecna, which is like ultra villain, and then you have this side like Dr. K and like her soldiers, and it was more of like a time killer than, I feel like, adding to the plot. And that was another thing, and I know I say this a lot in my reviews, but the script itself, I feel like, was lacking from the other scripts. Like, some of the dialogue from other seasons were just like spot on. It's hilarious, and I don't know, they were just better with the characters. This one, all the characters somehow morphed into one character for me. Like, again, emotionally, just everybody talking about their feelings, being upset. I know, as a person of faith, the level of GDs was very troublesome to me. I know in the previous seasons there was some of that, and I never liked that part. But this one, it just seemed like there was really an uptick in that language, specifically. The final battle with Vecna. I, But where were his minions? Where were the Demigorgons? Where were the flying, freaky, like, alien bats? Where were they? They were nowhere to be seen. And I heard one of the Duffer Brothers say, like, yeah, he's basically getting caught off guard in his home turf. Like he wasn't expecting them to come. But I'm like, even so, normally you think of like these old cartoons, like in Sleeping Beauty, where like the minions are outside of the castle. Like you think he would have had at least some backup. Instead, they're just like, oop, we got you surprised. You know? And the whole like the big alien thing, creature, whatever it was called, that they had to fight off before they got inside the alien creature thing to then finally kill him, also felt kind of random. It's like all these seasons were building to finally see it, and then you see it towards the end of the last episode. And it made sense that Will and 11 L would finally defeat Vecna. And I thought that shot was cool, And he's laying there impaled. You're like, oh, okay. It's finally over. And then once he starts lifting up his head and like coughing up blood, and the mom of, the Winona Ryder character just comes out of nowhere and is like, you bleeped with the wrong family. And she just takes an axe, like randomly just axing his head off. That was when I was laughing. Because it's like, what? It just felt so random. Like they all came in. You think it's over. And then the mom finally takes him out. And you get all these flashbacks. It was heavy on the flashbacks. And I get, like, 9 years it's been a minute, but it's also not been, like, decades. Like, the level of flashbacks. And it's 5 seasons split in 9 years. An average of 2 to 3 years of waiting for the next season. And there's only, like, 8 or 9 episodes per season. It's not like you had what used to be an average of 25 episodes. And then by the time that last battle happened, what followed, it was such a long finale. It was over 2 hours long. And at some point I was like, I've got to use the restroom. Pause it, come back. And I couldn't believe there was 30 minutes left. So then I started to think like, oh, is this all just an illusion? Like, they really didn't defeat Vecna. Like, they're just imagining all this play out. But really, they've all been taken up, into the alien thing. And so my imagination was running wild at this point. But then things, again, it went back to talking about their feelings, their little happily ever afters, and then jumping to the 18 months later. And, you don't know what happened to 11, which personally I'm not a big fan of. I would rather know what happened to the main protagonist, not like open-ended, like, oh, you decide. It's like, no, that's for the writer to decide. I'd rather not choose the ending. And that was another issue I had. Honestly, 11 she didn't really feel like the main character in this season. So then they tried to put the attention back on her for like the last episode to like send her off. And it's like, well, at this point, Will's had more attention. Even the younger kids like Holly and Derek, different side characters, all of a sudden they feel more like the main character than 11. So, yeah, it was. And the deal with Nancy, it's like another character that like don't need no man. Like, why can't she be happy with one of them? And then they get all the young adults back together, and at this point I know they're supposed to be like in their 20s. And none of them really seem that happy. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll stay in touch and we'll sort of be friends. And I get that that was kind of a relatable scene to most people. Because like after high school, you know, adjusting to young adulthood, anybody can relate to that. But what? It's like Nancy chooses to not have anyone. Steve is still like a lone wolf. And pretty much all of them. Probably the best scene were the a bit younger kids, the main kids that graduated high school, when they, you know, were playing the game together towards the end, because that's where it all began. And then their send off to the next generation of the kids playing, you know, down in the basement. But I'm still wondering, like, what happened to the pregnant women that were supposed to have the superpowered babies that Kali saw? There's a lot of what ifs. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Stranger Things Season 5, Part 1 and 2.